Welcome back to another Sport Universe podcast. It's number 10 now. Big number 10. We're making moves. It's me, Brian, and I'm joined with Nick and Jonathan.
What's going on, guys?
Hello, how's everyone doing?
So it was a big week in the NBA, which we'll definitely talk about. But I first wanted to give a congratulations to the U.S. women's national team. I mean, I know none of us are big soccer fans, but it's always good pride for USA to win something. I mean, they always win the World Cup for women's, but it's always a good thing.
Yeah, of course, when the men are so terrible, at least the women can represent a little bit.
Yeah, I know. Did you guys watch any of the World Cup?
I actually did not know.
Yeah, I didn't either. So
I watched the final today.
The whole thing?
I watched the game versus Thailand, and I watched the final today. Nobody can really compete with the U.S. women's team. Which, honestly, not the biggest surprise considering USA gives women the most freedom pretty much out of any country.
That's true.
Excluding maybe like England and some other countries that are similar to the U.S. But for the most part, women have the freedom to practice here more than any other, compared to a country like Thailand. So, makes sense.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering why they'd be so good, but that's definitely a good reason. I didn't think about that. But
also, we have different nationalities here, right? Kind of what was the term? A pot?
A melting pot?
Melting pot. There we go. So we're kind of a melting pot. So we got talent from all over the world as well.
Yeah, that's true. I guess we'll just get into everything since we don't really want to talk about the World Cup, but I figured we should mention something. So it was a big week in the NBA. Last week was a big week too. I talked about the Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving thing going to the Nets, so I don't know if you guys want to talk about that. I already gave my opinion on that.
I don't think there's much to say. I don't think it was a big shock that the Knicks lost out. Obviously, Brooklyn was in a much better position. But at least New York has a championship caliber team, even though it's not the Knicks. I'm still happy about that.
I'd have to agree with Lime, say that it wasn't much of a shock. I think the biggest shock out of it is the Knicks wouldn't offer Kevin Durant a max contract, which, given it is the Knicks, I wouldn't say it's much of a shock.
Okay, well, I don't know if it's such a shock that they didn't get Kevin Durant.
I get that he tore his Achilles and whatnot, but I mean, it's Kevin Durant.
Well, yeah.
When you have caliber players like LeBron, Kevin Durant. I mean, LeBron's getting a little older now. Kevin Durant's kind of old, but he's 33. But when you have that type of caliber player, I think you bet on him. You don't shy away from players like that.
I mean,
at the end of the day, even if they're not as good as what they were, right? Kevin Durant, arguably top best player in the world. Even if he's not the same old himself, right? He's probably still going to be a player worth a max contract.
I guess.
Yeah, you definitely have to bet on him. But in the Knicks situation, if you only have Kevin Durant, you're still probably going to win 45 games, make the playoffs.
Yeah, I see that, yeah.
But I think they made the right decision. They got definitely solid role players. Julius Randle I like. They kept their core. Their first Summer League game looked good to me. I think they're looking...
Till the stupid earthquake.
Yeah, it was one game.
No, I'm joking. But the thing with the Kevin Durant, I guess, yeah, it is stupid that they wouldn't offer him the max contract, but I don't know how to... it's just like, it shows like a different wave for them that they're not just... I mean, it kind of does. Because they actually did their due diligence to think about possibly not giving the best player out there all of their money, like all of their resources, like they did with Carmelo Anthony and everything like that.
Yeah.
But it was definitely I didn't think it was. I thought it was a pretty big shock that he didn't go to the Knicks. I mean, I get Kyrie Irving not going to the Knicks, definitely. I mean,
did you see the report today from Bobby Portis that I don't know when he said this already, but Bobby Portis said that the Nets getting Kyrie and KD was a done deal months ago. Like players knew.
Yeah, I did see that.
I don't know if I buy that, but
I think I saw someone else say that actually. I don't know who that was, but it was a couple days ago that I saw that. Maybe it
To me,
was
it
him.
sounds like hindsight bias, but
It could. I mean, I just thought that. I wouldn't say that it was not a shock that they didn't get Kevin Durant. I mean, there's definitely a possibility and a strong possibility that it would have went to the Knicks. I guess we kind of talked about their free agency so far, the Knicks free agency so far. But what I've been noticing, because I follow like Twitter things from the Knicks and the Nets and all like different reactions and stuff like that. It seems like kind of weird, but like everyone has like positive things to say about their off season, and like even like fan accounts who usually like totally bash the Knicks and everything they do. Like it seems like they're starting to turn the page on that and actually get on board with what the Knicks are doing. And I could definitely agree with that because of how they've been going through free agency and going through the draft the past like 3 years since Phil Jackson and everything like that.
Yeah, the Knicks are definitely more meticulous and calculated this offseason. And I heard Westbrook was on sale. And I know the old Knicks would definitely try and go buy Westbrook right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm happy the Knicks they're looking in the right direction. They have a good young core, like I said. And we'll see in 2 years, I think, is the next big free agent pool.
yeah, I think the Knicks, post not getting Kevin Durant, I thought they might have had the best free agency in the NBA. In terms of, if you look at everybody that signed and the contracts are on, right? I want to say most of them are on 2-year contracts, so they're preparing for free agency in 2021. They're all for the most part good deals, and third of all, they're all veteran players that set a culture in New York, right? They're not only are those veteran players like Taj Gibson and I guess Julius Randle is kind of younger. He might be a piece that they might keep going into 2021, but
Yeah.
just all the players they signed are culture players, right? They're going to help the rookies, but they're also going to set a culture in New York that hopefully turn the team around. Because I think it's one of the biggest things that probably deterred Kevin Durant was that the Knicks kind of a mess right now, and I think they can set a tone with the players they signed, like the ones they did. It really puts them in the right direction.
I think that's why Brooklyn succeeded, because they built the team already. So I feel like the Knicks 2 years from now, see how Mitchell Robinson, Trier, Knox, and Barrett progress, even Dennis Smith Jr. If they have a solid team, who wouldn't want to join New York?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing was I definitely like Julius Randle and a lot of the other guys, but I didn't really like them signing Bobby Portis. I know it was just one incident, but I'm pretty sure him and Nikola Mirotic got into like this fist fight that caught like a couple years ago when they were on the Bulls together. That caused Mirotic to miss like a significant amount of time. And I never like having players that don't add to that add negatively to the locker room.
Yeah.
Especially with like a young group of people. And I totally get what you're saying, that they added veterans and players that are good for the culture, and maybe Bobby Portis is, and that was just one incident, but that definitely didn't leave like a good taste in my mouth that they signed him. But I mean, I guess it could be different days. And
No, that's a totally fair point. I see what you're saying. Yeah,
Behind closed doors, you never know what's going on. So
that's true. Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
I think everyone else, who they signed? They signed Reggie Bullock, Randall,
Alfred Payton,
Wayne Ellington. I really like Wayne Ellington. He's a great shooter.
I don't like Alfred Payton, and that's just because he has wacky hair. I know he cut it off, but
I think he shaved it though. Didn't
yeah,
he
he did.
last
Anyone
season?
that thinks that it's okay to have that type of hair, I'm sorry.
What affects your plans? And maybe time for a haircut.
Yeah. We definitely need to talk about Kawhi Leonard and Paul George going to the Clippers. That was definitely a huge move by the Clippers and everything like that. The one thing I'm gonna say what I have to say later. You guys can talk.
Well, I think it's a typical Jerry West move. I mean, he's done it countless times. But I think the Paul George trade, that was fantastic. It was so under the wraps. no rumors whatsoever. Like, very classy. Well, at least from Jerry West's perspective, like, very professional. I think the Clippers, they just pulled over a fast one on the whole NBA. It was fantastic what they did.
Yeah, I think, Kawhi Leonard's going to go where Kawhi wants to go. And, from the reports, he wanted to go wherever Paul George was going. So I think Jerry West did a solid job in that. I think OKC also benefits from the trade because, even with Paul George and Russell Westbrook, they've been first, second round outs consistently for the past I don't know how many years.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I can say about the trade, the whole situation, I think the Raptors missed out big time. I don't know who exactly, because again, from the reports, Kawhi Leonard was going to go to whatever team of the three, the Lakers, Lakers maybe, but really between the Clippers and the Raptors, who was going to trade for Paul George, because it seemed Kawhi Leonard was going wherever Paul George went, right?
Mm-hmm.
And according to reports, the OKC wanted Pascal Siakam in the trade, and the Raptors didn't want to give him up.
Yeah,
I'd say the Raptors really should have gave him up, because at the end of the day, Siakam is a good player. He might even be a great player, but Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, it doesn't get much better than that. So I think it would have been worth it in the long run.
Yeah.
To make that trade. I think the Raptors missed out.
Yeah. What was I going to say? The one thing that was kind of confusing me is, once again, I was on Twitter and everything like that, and everyone was saying how good the Clippers are going to be and that they're better than the Lakers. I mean, I know they had, an okay season last year, but, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are definitely good, but I don't see them as, the clear front runners to win the finals. I mean, I don't know what your guys' opinions are, but I still think that it's, definitely could be the Lakers, could be them. I don't think it's, clearly going to be the Clippers.
No, but I'm not saying it would be the Clippers, but I'm saying on the Raptors team, right, if the Raptors would have had to give up Pascal Siakam and some picks or some bench players, whatever it might be, the starting lineup most likely would have been Kyle Lowry, whoever they could have maybe. I think they probably would have got Danny Green back on a decent contract at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'd have Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and then Marc Gasol. That's a solid starting five. That, especially in the East, again, it would probably be down to the Raptors and the Bucks again. So that would have worked out pretty well, in my opinion, for the Raptors.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I was just saying how everyone's reacting to the trade as if the Clippers are going to be this really good team, which they definitely are. But this finals winning team for sure, and I think that's a bit of a what's that called?
An overstatement.
Yeah. I don't see that as definitely.
A lot of teams in the West have made moves. I mean, the Jazz, Lakers. And we'll have to see if Denver takes the next step, which I think they will.
That's true.
Obviously, the Lakers signed DeMarcus Cousins. We'll see if he comes back.
Oh, right. I forgot. He's just looking for a ring.
Yeah. But, I mean, that's a pretty great front court right there if he's 80% of what he was.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see. See if the Rockets can come back. The West will be very competitive, I think.
Yeah.
In terms of the Clippers, I think the Clippers still have a solid team I think they're lacking in terms of the backcourt and frontcourt, big men, because they have Zubac and Montrezl Harrell or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I think they're lacking talent there. But Patrick Beverley, I love Patrick Beverley because he's such a good defender. He's one of those locker room guys. He's a good defender. He's always going to put his heart out every night. And, what he lacks in talent, he has in heart. So I think he's a really good spot, a really good piece for the Clippers. So I can't say they're finals contenders, but obviously they're a playoff team. So I think they definitely have a shot at winning the finals. But again, I do agree with you, Brian, that it's kind of an overstatement to say that they're the shoe-in.
Yeah. They're going to be a really good defensive team, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, defensively, they're going to be sound.
That's a little different,
And with Doc Rivers, too.
Yeah.
I mean,
there hasn't been, a defensive super team yet, so It's a new thing. And from the Paul George trade came all the news about Russell Westbrook, which we mentioned a little bit. But the Thunder should definitely look to move Russell Westbrook at this point, I think.
Yeah, I would too.
They're not going anywhere
His
with him.
contract is just so terrible. He's going to be getting $47 million. Actually, no, I think that's John Wall. But still, he's going to be making around $40 million.
Yeah, I think OKC should definitely move to move Westbrook. Apparently, the first team that has his dibs at him is apparently the Rockets, from what I've been reading.
Yeah.
And I actually saw this mock trade on Instagram earlier. Hold on, I'm gonna bring it up. I actually looked like a good trade for everybody involved in it. Here it is. If anybody wants to look at it, it's at the Rocket Center on Instagram. And the proposed trade that they had was the Miami Heat would get Chris Paul and Steven Adams. Oklahoma City Thunder would get Goran Dragic, James Johnson, I think it's James Johnson, Dion Waiters, Tyler Herro, and Bam Adebayo. I might have butchered that name. And the Rockets would pick up Russell Westbrook. So the Rockets would get an improvement at point guard because Chris Paul's getting older and he's losing it a little bit. I mean, people are bashing him over his season, but I still think he's definitely valuable. The Heat would get a point guard to match with Jimmy Butler, even though his contract's not that great. And the Heat would also dump a little bit of cap room by getting rid of all those players. I think their cap room would even out because Goran Dragic's set to make $19.2 million this year.
Mm-hmm.
And the Heat would also get Steven Adams, which is, he's a really good center. I think he's really underrated.
Yeah.
And in that same situation, the Thunder would get like 5 decent players on solid contracts that, if they didn't want to keep them, the biggest contract there is 3 years for $3.5 million. So, that definitely helped them in terms of their future. So I don't know. That trade I thought was pretty interesting. People are saying the Knicks might also make a shot at Westbrook. Yeah. I don't know what team he's going to go to, but that's my spiel on it.
As a Rockets fan, would you want them to get Russell Westbrook?
Yeah, I think he'd be solid. People are saying he's inefficient, but as a Rockets fan, I'm looking into it. Russell Westbrook shot 42% from the field last year. Chris Paul shot 41% from the field last year, so virtually identical. I think it would add. They might lose a little bit of playmaking from Chris Paul, but Russell Westbrook and his athleticism is pretty much unmatched. So I definitely think that it'd be interesting. And the Rockets have been constantly eliminated from the playoffs every year. Something like that might shake up the team. It's a dice roll, I guess, right?
Yeah.
They might bring them to the finals. It might put the first round out. It may not do anything, but I don't know. I definitely think it would be interesting. I wouldn't hate the trade if it came down to that.
Yeah, I'm looking at this.
Westbrook doesn't fit their system at all, though. I mean, they're a 3-or-die team, I guess. And obviously, Westbrook is not a 3-point specialist.
So at the same time, they're also like an ISO team, right? So that might work well for Russell Westbrook if you can run the pick and roll with Clint Capella.
And maybe they need a little bit of a shake-up, like you were saying. It doesn't only have to be threes.
And at the same time, Russell Westbrook's going to be cheaper than Chris Paul, I think. I think
I'm not sure of the contract.
Russell Westbrook
I think they're making it
4 years
about the same money, but so with some technical difficulties, I'll just mention that. So with Russell Westbrook and Chris Paul both making in somewhere in the 40 millions next year, it definitely could be a beneficial because again the Rockets do run an ISO system, and although it is kind of as Lime said, it's kind of a 3-or-die system as well. I feel like the Rockets are solid on the 3-point line. They definitely have enough 3-point shooters to get the job done. I feel like somebody like Russell Westbrook, and again his athleticism and his ability to get to the rim, could definitely benefit the Rockets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would. Adding Russell Westbrook is definitely good for basically any team. I feel like sometimes he gets a bad rap. I mean, after he won the MVP, he started to get a bad rap, I felt. And he's definitely a really great player, but definitely not a player that the Thunder can build around for the future, so he should definitely try and be traded. I don't want the Knicks to go after him. Like Jonathan said, they're actually doing the smart thing and not going after them, and they didn't do the stupid thing of going after Anthony Davis, so don't mess it up again. Go after Russell Westbrook. Let's see, what else is there in the NBA? I wrote down LA is definitely going to be a hotspot for basketball again, which is nice to see. I'm just waiting for New York to do that again too. I mean, they have the Nets and everything, but if the Knicks could do something, that would be great. But
Unlikely.
yeah, it's so sad. And then personally, I think that the Lakers are going to be better than the Clippers. I just have to say that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
I hope they get point guard.
I kind of have a hot take on that.
Oh, I'm ready for your hot take. Go for it.
I would say, in my opinion, right now, the Los Angeles Lakers are the best team in the NBA.
Oh, don't say it to them.
That is my personal opinion. When you have DeMarcus Cousins, JaVale McGee, Kyle Kuzma, AD, and LeBron on the same team, I don't know if there's any team in the NBA can match that. Right? They are missing a little bit of people. Don't have no faith in Rondo, and although he's not a scorer anymore, he averaged like 9 assists last season. So that's not bad. I mean, he's serviceable still, right? When you got all those players on one team and all he's got to do is pass, that's where Rondo fits best. So I feel like they could use a better point guard, but I feel like Rondo will be serviceable. But the Lakers have so many talented big men just in that core I just mentioned that I don't think there's any team in the NBA that can match that in like especially in a playoff series.
Fortunately, that's not the league anymore. The league is smaller.
I'm saying, but this could change the face of the league right here.
I mean, that is what they said when the Pelicans got Cousins and Anthony Davis a few years back. So
that's right. They're back together.
Yeah. I mean, now they have LeBron James, which is definitely different.
Yeah. I mean, LeBron could play point guard for them. I mean, they have Danny Green. Danny Green's also. I thought the Lakers so far have signed really good like role players, as well as the big talent that they have. So I don't know. I see them as the best team in the NBA. From a talent standpoint going into it, especially with the Warriors not having Clay.
Yeah.
And Kyrie and KD being out for most of the season as well. I definitely see the Lakers as the best team going into next season.
Yeah, I can't really. I mean, the Bucks,
which is crazy.
Gonna be good.
Which to me is like crazy considering the point they were before they traded for AD.
Yeah,
they were considered like, what is going on here? Magic Johnson left and everything turned around.
Oh boy.
Not saying those correlate.
Yeah, I think that Kawhi. I definitely think Kawhi Leonard's like top of the line, but I think people might be overrating him a little bit because I feel like he still has to prove it one more year.
Mm-hmm.
And LeBron James is LeBron James. Anthony Davis is an amazing player, and like you said, the role players that they have, they're a really good team. And I can't really think of another team that's going to really compete against that.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, no one has the matchups for them, but in the backcourt, teams like obviously if the Warriors are healthy,
they do have D'Angelo
the
Russell.
Jazz maybe, also the Nuggets. If they could just pour in threes, I think they could compete. I don't know if they could beat the Lakers, but
it's definitely going to be a different league. It's not going to be just like the Warriors because it's obviously not the Warriors anymore. But
yeah,
it's going to be a lot more competition. I guess that's it for the NBA. I don't know if you guys have anything else to say.
I guess also one thing I wanted to mention was the Warriors. Considering where they were after KD left, they wound up signing D'Angelo Russell. How do you guys feel about that?
Yeah.
Not signing trade.
Yeah. I did hear that they want to trade him, but that was a few, like 4 days ago, so that might be different now.
I think it's still the same thing. I heard Colin Cowherd talking about it in terms of like they're gonna keep him until Klay Thompson comes back, and they're gonna trade him because Colin Cowherd, even though he is a lot of the times hysterical for no reason, he made a good point. What team, the fact that right now currently that the NBA is so guard based, who wouldn't want a point guard that can score off the dribble and has a chip on his shoulder like D'Angelo Russell? Like at the trade deadline, who's not going to want a player like that going into the playoffs?
Yeah.
So they definitely could trade him.
Definitely true. So, I feel I don't really want to say this, but D'Angelo Russell is kind of, I don't know if I should say that.
Overrated.
Yeah. I think that he was definitely improved so much more than what he was his rookie year, and he's a star in the league now, but I don't think he's going to add as much as Klay Thompson did for the Warriors or anything really close to it, because I feel like D'Angelo Russell is like a worse form of Steph Curry. I mean, D'Angelo Russell isn't a three-point shooter or anything like that, but Steph Curry's a ball handler and is basically like a really good point guard, and D'Angelo Russell is also a good point guard, but not close to Steph Curry and what Steph Curry adds to them. So I feel like it might be a little clash right there. But
No, I agree. I mean, D'Angelo Russell barely made the All-Star team in the East. What are the best point guards in the East? Kyrie, Kemba, anyone else?
let me see.
Well, I could definitely agree that, like, D'Angelo Russell's not going to replace Klay Thompson, you know, especially in the Warriors system where Klay Thompson wasn't ball dominant like D'Angelo Russell was. But I think he's definitely going to help the Warriors stay a playoff contender until Klay comes back. And
Yeah,
I
but I
could
don't really
definitely
see
see
them
them
doing
trading him at the deadline.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point about trading him at the deadline. And that's similar to what the Knicks were trying to do. That's what I heard, that the Knicks were trying to get some players like Taj Gibson or players that would be of interest to teams at the deadline. So that might be a interesting thing to look at for that. I guess we'll go on to our favorite team segment. I have it that you guys would talk about the Yankees first, because I don't really want to talk much, because it's a depressing time as a Mets fan like usual. But so if you guys want to talk.
I guess I'll start because Lions follows baseball even more than I do. I'd say the Yankees are, they're still doing the Yankees thing. They're winning for the most part. They're 7-3 in their last 10. I did hear that James Paxton is doing very well. He's getting in a bit of a hot streak, so it's good. I don't know. DJ LeMahieu, dark horse for the MVP.
Yeah,
I don't know,
think
he's
he's
actually
playing
doing
very
good.
well.
You have anything to say, Lance?
I haven't been really watching the Yankees, but I watched the end of today's game. They lost 2-1 to the Rays.
It's because they suck.
Can't win them all. Rays are a good team.
They are. There's Ray Starks that actually pitched gem, even though I don't even think he won 6 innings, but he still pitched great. And I think I forgot whose start. It was a lefty, but he gave him 2 runs the first inning, and then the Yankees they couldn't score 2 runs. So I mean, otherwise they have 57 wins going to the All-Star break. I think you can't be mad at them dealing with all their injuries.
Yeah.
I think they could win 100 games this season. I think it's definitely possible.
Jesus Christ. I was just looking at DJ LeMahieu's stats. That's so annoying. He wasn't supposed to be so good. 63 RBIs already. I mean, Pete Alonso has 68, so...
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
So, suck it, DJ LeMahieu and the Yankees.
That win-loss record, though.
I don't recall what that is. That's not what matters in baseball.
Yeah.
I guess I'll talk about the Mets, and then we'll talk about our NBA teams. There's not much difference to say than what I said on last week's podcast or any other podcast that we recorded. They're still really bad. They did win one against the Yankees, and don't know if they won again since then.
They beat Philly once.
Okay, was that yesterday that they won?
Yeah, because they lost today.
Yeah, okay. So they did win. Okay. I heard that Brody Van Wagenen, who is the Mets GM, threw a chair in a meeting that he was having with the coaching staff.
I heard that too.
It's such a mess. It's just like every single level of the Mets organization is so bad. And I thought that Brody Van Wagenen would be different, but obviously his moves haven't panned out. And that could just be bad luck, but I also don't think it's bad luck. And, I mean, obviously the owners are terrible. The coaching staff is not good at all. And I've given my opinion of Mickey Callaway so many times, so I'm not going to again.
Fire.
That's what I think.
I mean, we say the same things every single week, so I mean...
I can talk about Pete Alonso, though. That's a good thing. I'll talk about the All-Star game. So Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil, and Jacob deGrom made it to the All-Star game. I was kind of surprised about Jacob deGrom, but because he's had a good season, but not anything amazing. But I guess after winning a Cy Young and somewhat being good the next year, you get a little respect. So he's in the All-Star game. Obviously, Jeff McNeil and Pete Alonso are in the All-Star game for right reasons. Jeff McNeil is like 4th in the league in batting or something like that. I think his batting average is like 340 something.
It went up. He went 4 for 5 yesterday. I don't know about today. But yesterday he was hitting 350 something.
350 something?
Yeah.
Christ. Wait, so...
I don't know
Let me
about
see.
today though.
Well, now I need to look it up. Jeff
Think about
McNeil-
something. Don't the Mets have the most blown saves in
yeah,
all
I
the
did see
MLB?
that. Yeah, that's interesting.
Wouldn't you guys have like a good record if you were like 50% on your saves?
Yeah, wait, I can pull that up. I think if they didn't blow any of their saves, I think they've blown 22 saves or something like that. They would be the best in the NL.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so the Mets have an MLB leading 22 blown saves. They have been perfect, they'd be 61 and 27, which is number 1 in baseball. If they had won 75% of those games, they'd be second best in the NL. If they saved 50%, they would be the NL wildcard leader. And we traded for a closer in the offseason, so that's great. We traded for the best closer in baseball. That was very sarcastic if anyone didn't realize what I was trying to say. That's why you don't trade for bullpen arms. But I want to talk about Pete Alonso because that's something good. He's continuing to prove that he's top of the line talent in baseball. He hit his 30th home run today. He has 68 RBIs, like we said, and it's really nice to see a young, talented player for the Mets. And so Jeff McNeil's the same situation. It's a rarity for the Mets, but it's nice to see. I guess I'll talk about the Knicks now. I kind of talked about them missing out on all the free agents, but I'm definitely not as upset as I was the day that Kevin Durant didn't sign with the Knicks, because they've proven to actually get some talented players that will put the Knicks in a good situation going into the next season and when they have a chance to sign big caliber free agents. It's even possible that they sneak into like the 8th playoff spot, even though I don't think that's possible, but they've added talent like that could make them a team to fight for a playoff spot. That's all I have to say about the Knicks. I don't know if you
I
want to
just
talk
hope
about...
they progress. I mean, they definitely got good veterans. Wayne Ellington is a fantastic shooter. Hopefully he could teach R.J. Barrett, Kevin Knox how to shoot. Good power forward shooters, Randall. You could keep him, but he could also teach Mitchell Robinson how to post footwork. I don't know. I mean, the Knicks made some pretty decent moves. So I hope in the future they pan out.
I think they will. But do you have anything to say about the Rockets, Nick?
The Rockets pretty much hibernated during all free agency. They didn't really do much. They re-signed Austin Rivers, Daniel House, and Gerald Green. They pretty much have the identical team to last year. I think they lost Nene because he declined his option, which is alright because he's really old. Even though he was pretty solid for the Rockets last season, he's pretty old, so they didn't really lose much there. They'll give those minutes to Fareed. in the meantime. So they're pretty solid. So, we'll see if this Westbrook trade happens. If not, I think the Rockets definitely have the talent to compete for a finals team. The way that the NBA panned out this offseason, any team could be in the finals. It's not, you're not like, oh, we're going to definitely see the Warriors in the finals again.
Yeah, any team that has some talent.
Yeah, so the Rockets could definitely compete for the finals. So it all comes down to, I guess, coaching and chemistry and just how things go. So we'll see what kind of changes the Rockets make over the next season. We'll see if they can finally make it to the finals.
Yeah. I guess that's it for our favorite team segment. We'll talk about our controversial topic. I think me and Nick realized that we didn't have any controversial topic listed when we started, so we had to be a little clutch there. So we're going to talk about if there's too much instant replay in sports currently. My opinion on that is I think that there should even be more instant replay, if I'm being honest. I think that it's gotten to the point where why not just go all in with instant replay? I get the idea that it takes up a lot of time and everything, but I feel like all sports fans would rather have the right outcome and what it's definitely supposed to be, rather than sit an extra 5-10 minutes watching a sports game.
Mm-hmm. Ryan, you have any opinion? I'll say mine last.
Okay. I feel like some of the greatest sporting moments, though, originate from fouls. Like you have Jordan's push-off to seal Game 6, and I forget what finals.
Mm-hmm. I don't think fouls should be instant replay, actually.
Fouls? Well, yeah, obviously you have the Saints last year.
Yeah, that's true.
If I think a little bit, I can think of more examples, but
maybe certain fouls. I don't know. That's a good point.
A part of the game is also learning how to bend the rules a little bit, and I feel if you just crack down on everything, it just takes away the finesse of the game. So, I don't want to see automation or too much automation, rather.
I kind of stand where, I feel like everything should be, challengeable for instant replay, whether it be strikes, balls, fouls, flags, whatever it may be. But I think the numbers should be limited, right? So it's definitely got to be a strategic thing. You shouldn't have unlimited challenges. Most of the leagues are good with that right now, right?
Yeah.
But, as long as you're strategic in where you're challenging, it's important. Because, in the NBA, let's say they challenged Michael Jordan's push-off, but something happened the next play where they should have challenged that. Well, if they use their challenge on that, they don't have it for the next occurrence, whatever it may be. So, I think it definitely balances out in terms of, it's a strategy and where you want to use it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I don't think it should go down from where it is right now. I think that adding instant replay was a good decision, and all the people that complain about it taking too much time, I've heard a lot with baseball, and I think that baseball is just a sport that's going to take a lot of time, and there's no real way to minimize the length of a baseball game without doing crazy things to what baseball is right now. But I think that instant replay where it is right now should not be decreased in any sense.
I think baseball needs it the most, because in terms of umpires and how inconsistent their strike zones are.
Yeah.
And I guess, again, people are going to go, oh, well, that ruins the fun of it. If you get a certain umpire, he has this certain strike zone, so it's a part of the game. But at the same time, again, if they're only limited in the number of challenges they have, then, it's going to be strategic. It's not going to take away that umpire's entire game there. It's going to be one or two calls that are super important to the game.
Do you think that there should be those robot umpires or behind the plate?
No. See, that's where I think it goes too far, right? You don't want to automate the game, but you should have everything within the game challengeable, and again, limit it so it's strategic, and that team who's challenging better be sure that their challenge is worth it, or they're gonna lose their challenge. Like I could speak more to football, right?
Mhm.
The fact that if they get it wrong, will they lose a timeout? There's a consequence there. So it's definitely, and you only get a certain amount of challenges as well. If you mess up, you don't get another challenge.
Yeah.
So it's definitely strategic in terms of that.
I think what I would.
But
yeah,
the rest aren't automatic. They're not robots, right?
Yeah. I think what I would add possibly is if it gets to the point where they're adding more instant replay, that maybe teams don't have as much of a chance to like review it on their own side. Like it just has to be like what you see on the field if you think that it needs to be challenged, and not being able to like go upstairs, like have someone talking in your ear if that was out of bounds or something like that. Like I'm pretty sure they do that in all the sports. Because the NBA is not, you can't like challenge things. But I think we can all agree that instant replay, if anything, should not be decreased. It's at least at a good point at where it is right now. I think that's it. If anyone has anything to add to that controversy, but I think we covered it all.
Yeah.
You guys have any last words?
No, I think I'm good. If Nick, you have anything to say?
All right, what's coming out of me. Is a work in progress. Contact us if you have any questions, comments, concerns. At Nick.Horvath on Instagram, and also at NicholasHorvath10 at yahoo.com. You can, I'll let Brian give a spiel about the Sport Universe.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say a quick RIP to Cameron Boyce, the child actor. He was 20. He died today.
Oh, also Tyler Skaggs. We didn't talk about
Tyler
him.
Skaggs, yeah. But Cameron Boyce, he played on Jesse, played in Descendants, RIP.
Oh, that was the name of the show, Jesse. I was trying to remember. Yeah, that was sad.
He hates that people go die so young,
Yeah, he was only 20. That's crazy.
We all lost somebody, in our school. I'm not gonna name drop him because, so similar reason, seizure.
Yeah.
What he died? What was he, like 16, 17 at the time?
I think it was 11th grade. So that would be 16 or something like that.
He hates people who die so young. Especially when they have such bright futures.
Yeah. On that sad note, we'll be back next week with our 11th podcast. Obviously, let us know what you thought of that, our podcast, and if you have any comments, put them in the comment box down below. Haven't been getting a lot of comments, like I've been saying, but that's okay.
So many.
Check out.
Go comment.
Check out our videos on YouTube. Tomorrow there's a Tyler Skaggs video, and then Wednesday I'm working on the U.S. women's national team soccer. So check those out. We're almost at our first 1,000 viewed video. It's our Kevin Durant video. I think we're at 900 right now.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And we have 37 subscribers, so that's lit. So if you have any interest, like I say, if you have any interest in writing for us or any videos, contact us at thesportuniverse2019@gmail.com. And we're trying to figure out what we're going to do with our Instagram page, because I want it to be more professional looking and stuff like that. So we'll figure that out. We'll let you know. And thanks for listening.